Welcome to junkjournalmayhem at Studioloo.
We are on day 23 and it's all about something broken. So I had several options for this, but have decided to use one of the banes of my existence. So if you've been around for a while, you know that I am a big fan of balloonsblow.org and their amazing work cleaning up the ocean and all sorts of things, rescuing animals and spreading awareness about the evil of balloons, especially these foil ones. Did you know that in the United States they actually have balloon politicians that are like, what do they call those parties in the US that they fight for certain things they want for corporate interest? So there's a whole one associated with balloons in the United States. So also, just so you know, you can go to balloonsblow.org. You can get a bumper sticker that says balloons blow, don't let them go. And it's basically going to show you what happens to livestock, wildlife, marine life, etc. when you buy and you let go of these balloons. They try to educate people about balloon releases as well as Chinese lantern releases and how dangerous they are and how polluting. These foil balloons are especially awful. Also, just so you know, there's no such thing as a biodegradable balloon. Even if you see that on the packaging, it's a complete lie. They don't biodegrade. I have done a 3-year test in my own backyard with 2 different kinds of biodegradable balloons buried in mucky water and dirt. They never biodegrade. They do not break down. So this balloon I found actually at our local graveyard when I was taking a walk. And, people take these to graveyards and they stick them on a grave where nobody's really ever going to do anything with them because there's no one there alive, right? So they just become trash. And these strings are also extremely harmful. They get tangled around wildlife. Sometimes birds will take them and try to put them in their nesting. They will ingest them. They'll get tangled around all sorts of different kinds of animals. And I won't show you any graphic images or bring you too much to think about, but just know that it's out there. However, I have sanitized this balloon and I figured we could use it because, these things are purchased because they're pretty. So one side has all this gold and that's really nice. And the other side is obviously silver. So you see there's a lot of plastic here too. This is a lot to deal with. So I think what I might do is kind of like a mass make today so I can use up every last bit of this. And I'm going to probably just cut out like some tags and we'll use it as the background. And then I will figure out what kind of foreground imagery to put on there. So I can definitely tell you in my own experience one second, I just have to grab my cutter with these balloons and bad things I found. I have certainly dealt with several carcasses. I once saw an albatross that had perished from being tangled in one of these things. I gotta cut that edge off, it's too thick. And a seagull. I have found a carcass from a seagull. Another small mammal that I'm not even sure what it was because it was skeletonized, but it had the strings all tied around inside of it, so that's how it perished. So yeah, it's like the worst ones are the sporting events. Like I know there's a big, it might be football, like I don't know, remember what team, if it was the Broncos or something, I don't know. I think I remember something orange about the team, but every year they have like a big party where they release a bunch of balloons and they've tried to curb that because it's a massive garbage event, right? But yeah, sometimes I think as people, we politicize very silly things. So, as cautious as I am, trying not to be too political on this channel, I do want you to know how I feel about certain things because, I think it's important. And unless you're, working for a balloon company or something, you're probably in agreement with me that these things aren't so great. And they're also pretty, like, useless, really. I know balloons can bring joy, but there's a lot of other things that also can bring joy. So I limit my kids to not really using balloons, and if they somehow get balloons, then we make sure we dispose of them very, very carefully by cutting them up and, you know, throwing them away. But again, they just become landfill, so that in itself is something to think about. So let's go ahead with this. Now, I don't want the happy birthday part of this, so I'll just cut this off, and maybe we can use the silver with that one piece. Okay. So I think the best way to do this probably is to just glue and stick and glue and stick and repeat. And then cut it all out after. Lobby, that's the word I'm looking for. There are balloon lobbies. Lobbyists. Number 1. However, I do think this foil will be really quite pretty on here. Also sort of dumbfounding to me that in this world that we're still allowed to use helium in balloons. That's another thing that the balloon lobbies fight for, is that ability, because not sure if everybody knows this, but MRI machines are run using helium. They use helium, and you know, that's a pretty important machine, and helium is a non-renewable resource, I believe. I believe that's the whole story to the helium problem, is that, like, we can run out of helium. I haven't done all the science, but I know that the balloonsblow.org people have. So for more information on that whole aspect of this, you can definitely check them out, because they do document that. And they're just these two amazing girls, like young girls who do tons of beach cleanups and educating and trying to be sensitive, you know, because especially when there's been a death, especially if it's a child's death, and people are doing a balloon release, the last thing they want to deal with is like someone going, "Don't do this, it's bad for the environment." But you know, I think when you think about what your loved one, especially a child, would want, they'd probably want you to make an ethical decision about, like, you know, their life, their memory, you know, the place that you are doing something for them. Probably it was somewhere that they loved, and you know, you probably want to do right by that environment even. So sometimes I think it's just stepping outside of our own, like, traditions or something and not getting emotional about it. There's really no need. It's like no one's calling you a bad person or anything for just doing something. But when you know better, right, you can do better. Okay, so I've only got a couple more of these, and I've still got a half a balloon here, so probably have to cut a few more of those. So let's just cut out this happy birthday too. And I pick up so many of these, and I get them out of trees all the time. I've pulled them out of wetlands, and it takes forever to get them out because they get all tangled up, and you end up, you know, having to wade out into the water, and it's not fun. But it's one of the reasons that I'm really inspired to do beach cleanups, because I know how harmful certain kinds of trash are. Some of the most harmful trash, really, number one, is like balloons and microplastics and things, but also Chupa Chup, those lollipops, those little plastic sticks, and probably the number one worst is cigarette butts, plastic filters on cigarette butts. And that's also one of the most common trash things, because people just throw them all over the ground. They're also, you know, they cause fires. Yeah, it's not fun dealing with that kind of stuff. That's what I can tell you. smoosh. Some of them I want to have the wrinkles. I think that'll be kind of cool. Okay. A little bit off there. I once spent an entire super hot summer afternoon at my old condo that I used to live in. There was a back parking lot, and we were really close to this little beach. And so as a result, there were a lot of seagulls around, and there were a lot of people who went fishing. So I was getting ready to go to work. I worked at that time in retail, and so I was on my way to my job, and all of a sudden in the parking lot I saw a seagull that was tangled in two things. Number one, a balloon plastic string, and number two, a fishing lure that was tangled around it with a bunch of fishing line. And it was all wrapped around its neck, and the fishing lure was actually caught in its beak, and it was so stressful. So myself, and at the time my boyfriend, we spent like in the blazing hot sun. I'm pretty sure I got a horrible sunburn that day, if I recall, just trying to catch this seagull. It took forever because he was still able to fly just fine, but he was hanging around, and all I had was like a fishing net, and I was trying to like catch him. Or it was actually like a big butterfly net. It was like a big children's butterfly net, and we finally caught him though, and I had brought wire snips, and I cut the fishing lure out of his beak. He must have like bit me or pecked me like a million times. Oh my goodness. And like their tongues, like the side of a seagull's tongue or something has like these spiky bits. Like I don't know what the heck. I'm like, how is this hurting like this seagull? But we finally got him all untangled. He was not grateful at all, but we were happy. And then I ended up just calling out of work and saying, I'll talk to you later about this, but I can't make it to work today. I've tangled with a seagull. Okay. Probably can get another one out of that, so I'll cut a piece, I think, down to, we'll use this thing, Fuller magazine cover, but the back's white, so this will work. Maybe so I'll just cut this down to usable shapes here. Alright, I'll just clip that off. I do like to test my guillotine and see if it can cut through things. Okay. Yeah, we can use that side because there's writing on that side. You could also emboss these pieces just like I did with the aluminum foil day, and that could be very fun. Oops. I gotta put that down again. There we go. Okay. Do I have enough for one more? Yeah, I think so. Just. It's interesting nowadays, though, like the rules associated with leaving things at cemeteries really does seem to be changing, and I'm happy about that. Like a lot of cemeteries are starting to post now that you can only leave organic things and no plastics, which is great because I can't get over. I remember one year there was at this one graveyard that I walk in, they were doing like some kind of ground like fixing the ground because it's an old place, and they had to like re-level the ground because if they don't, then the stones can shift and that kind of thing. So they had asked people to remove all of the stuff from the stones by a certain date, because people get emotional about the things they leave at graves, right? For good reason. Sometimes, it's a very it's an emotional thing. I mean, I think always it's an emotional thing. And a lot of times it's like you see, like even on children's stones, there's like toys and things. So they posted a notice asking people to pick anything up. They could bring it back after the work was done. And then after a certain date, they would collect it, and they did, and they put all the stuff at the back in this kind of gated in like area that they created. And then they left it there for a 1 month period, and I could not get over how much crap there was, like plant pots and mostly fake flowers, and those are like the bane of my existence. Those things, they get so gross and dirty, and some people will wrap them in plastic thinking that they last longer, but like then they don't look nice at all either. They just kind of look like a trash bag sitting on a gravestone. It's kind of weird, So yeah, I hope people start to think about, like, I think even generally speaking, the way that we buy things, like I'm trying not to buy seasonal things. Like I know some people are like, I need all the Christmas or all the Halloween, and you have your holiday things, do what you like, but all I can tell you is that thrift stores, I've talked on a couple different occasions with people who run thrift stores, like that they work in them, and they can't deal with the amount of stuff that comes in that is holiday centric, because they can only really sell it around that holiday, and they will pack up a certain amount and they'll store it, but then every year there's just a flood of more. And if you really want to be horrified, like spend some time on YouTube and just look at things like how seasonal decorations like Christmas ornaments are made in China, especially those that use glitter, like how glitter is made in China. Loads of human suffering and loads of environmental nightmares, like not good. So yeah, I would try to buy less seasonal stuff if you can. Like you don't need to decorate your house and your front porch and all that for every holiday. Like as much fun as it is, I think like your creativity could be spent better somewhere different. Like, because you're obviously have a designer's eye, you're creative and cool, but like, yeah, don't buy all that crap. I'm gonna go stitch around all of these balloon and steins here, and I will come back and we'll do something with them. So we have here 10 tags that I made from that balloon. So why don't we play with one of the patterned ones and then maybe one of the silvery ones, and the rest of them I will set aside as bases to make ephemera with a little bit later. Get rid of all these floating little scraps here, and I did grab a couple of like focal points. So I was thinking this Tim Holtz doll here, and then this fairy over here, and then I've grabbed some scraps, just scraps from my scrap box, to kind of do some layering and some fun collage. So I think that would be really cute on here because it goes with the blue, and then maybe a little bit of sparkle down there. And then over here we'll do a little grungy. Got some of this this is National Geographic dissolved paper. Come here. Just kind of do a bit of layering here. Yeah, maybe like that. All right, that should be good, I think, for scraps for this. So let's get this all glued down now. This is just some fun 49 and Market paper scrap. I die cut a tag out of it. But you can't waste these scraps. They're just too lovely. Always too lovely. Just hold that down for a moment because that foil does need a minute to adhere. You won't want to use glue stick to adhere these things to the foil because it won't stick very well. You can use art glitter, you can use 3-in-1 or Fabri-Tac, a beacon adhesive, or probably any other glue that you use that's more of a more industrial kind of professional glue. Okay, and then I think I will ink around that fairy just to kind of have her pop on all this colorful background. Okay. All right, so there is tag number 1, and I will just set that aside. Then we'll work on this background. Okay. All sorts of fun grungy textures on this one. I just have to place this again to see where I want that to go. Probably here. Yeah. Then we can glue these guys down. I like the look of this. It's got so much grunge to it. It's great. Okay. Now if I need to Yeah, I'm going to pull a little bit of the foil off the edge there. So this stuff does curl up a little, so when you're stitching, go as close to the edge if you can, and make sure whatever you use like to back this with, you're okay if it does decide it wants to curl up. With this one I am, because I like the colors at the back, but obviously, you know, you could cover that with paper, or you could paint over it, or what have you. But yeah, that is my pieces. Those are my pieces for today, and then obviously I have all of these to deal with later. So thank you so much for hanging out with me, and hopefully you will find something broken that you can tackle. And certainly if you have balloons hanging around, use them, because we don't want them anywhere else. Have a great day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye for now.